let's start with the second part. Now we can work on other different images. And I want to open an image of Spider-Man because you can see the complementary colors, the red, the blue, the yellow on the background. I can show you how to use color contrast to enrich the tones of the image. So let's open the first image in Photoshop. Okay, this is the original. The image is perfect, but if you see, you can see some muted tones. Yes, okay, the hand is not perfect, also this, but I don't want to spend time to talking about retouching here. This is an example just to show you how you can enrich the tones of the image. This is the focus of this video. So in this case I can try to use the curves auto adjustment to see if something happens. Okay, yes, I can reduce just a little the opacity and I can flatten image. In this case, the first thing I want to show you is how to work with the color balance. I often use a filter that is really useful and interesting, Nikon Collection Color FX Pro 5. Inside you will find a lot of interesting things. In this case I'm talking about color contrast, so I can go here on Pro Contrast. In the contrast section I click here and I click on the first neutral because I want to manually set the parameters. So in the first I can correct the color cast if I need. Look, I can make the image more bluish, but in this case I prefer this golden reflection. But the interesting things are the other two sliders, because in this way I can correct the contrast and I can modify the dynamic contrast. Correcting contrast, look at that, look. We can before, after, and then I can pump up this dynamic contrast. Look, before, after. Then I click apply and now we have the before and the after. Look, now it's much better than before. We're looking at the 33%, but I can, yes, okay. Before, after. And also in this way I can play with colors. So I can do a lot of things. I can use the camera raw filter. It's a great tool that you can use, it's free. It's inside Photoshop. In the color mixer section I can work with the luminance, the saturation of the hue of each single color. So I can decide that I want to reach the saturation of the reds and the blues, because this is the costume of Spider-Man. Look at that. And if I want, look, I can reduce, and so I have created the complementary colors. Look at that, amazing, literally amazing. Look, fantastic. Before, after. The picture is ready. We just pumped out the colors and the color contrast. I can also, if I want to try to use the selective color, yes, at this point I can do like before. I want to keep the colors of Spider-Man absolutely like this, but I can change the colors here. Maybe I can add some greenish tones here on the rocks, or bluish tones, I don't know, but I want to try. So the first thing I need to do is to image, apply image. Okay, and now I have my mask here. The changes will affect only the brightest part of the image, but I have to exclude Spider-Man from the selection. So at this point I take the black brush, opacity 100%, flow 100%, and I start painting. In this way I will exclude Spider-Man character from the selection I'm going to apply. In this way I can exclude Spider-Man from the changes in terms of colors I'm going to make. I'm working with the pen tool. I strongly suggest you to use a pen with a tablet like me. I personally use the Wacom Intuos Pro but you can use what you prefer, even if the Wacom is, in my opinion, is the best for this kind of work. Yes, okay. I click again here on my mask. I have created my selection. Look, this yellow is fantastic. That is complementary to the red and the blue. Is beautiful. Now we can try to change some settings. Look. Oh, okay. Yellow doesn't change, but look at that. Look at that. We can add the new complementary color to our selection, making the image more interesting. You can choose the combination you prefer. Yes, I think it could be an interesting choice. Oh wow, look at that. If you prefer the bluish tones, also yes, or you prefer some pink reflection, okay. But this is not all, because you can open a new adjustment layer. In this case I want to open a hue saturation adjustment layer. Right click on your mouse button and create clipping mask. In this way all the changes I'm going to do will affect only the level below. And let's start to change the parameters. I can work with the hue or the saturation of all the image. Look at that. Or I can select a specific range of colors. Okay. This is the selection, and now I can work with the hue only on that selected colors. Look at that. Before, after. Look, before, after. Before, after. And it's fantastic. It's really fantastic. Look at that. Before and after. A totally new image. So you can choose the colors you prefer for the background, for the sky, for everything. The most important thing is that you understand that once you have your image created by Midjourney, you are at the starting point, not at the end. Because from this, you can work to make this. And as a comic, it's important to make your images absolutely stunning for your comics. And now let's open the last image. Okay, this is the image. Look at the details. Wow! It's important that you save your image in sRGB mode, because it's a standard. It's a typical standard to maintain the same colors on each different platform you use to see your pictures. So at this point we can play with colors. Filter, Nikon Collection, Color Effects. Because I want to use color contrast to pump up the tones of this image. Pro contrast, neutral, and now if you like you can change and correct the color cast, but I love these golden tones just because the flames, the sparkles, it's realistic, this tone that you see around him. So I can correct the color contrast, and then look, the dynamic contrast. If you want to see the before, after, let's apply the effect, and immediately you can see the changes. Boom. Okay? Look. Amazing. Then also here we can do the same. We can go to filter, camera raw filter, and let's work with the saturation of each single channel. Red, yellow, just some subtle adjustment to make the contrast between the colors more visible. Okay, before, after, and now the picture brings to life. Look at that. And then you can decide if you want to change also the background on the back of Iron Man. If you think it's a good idea, you can open again a new adjustment layer, selective color, image, apply image. Okay, let's see, it's perfect. I want to create more contrast. Yes, because I want some parts are darkened and some parts are brightened here. Yes, okay. And now the most important thing, we have to exclude Iron Man from our selection. So I take the black brush and I start painting. To exclude Iron Man from the selection. This trick makes the difference. Remember, if you want different results, you have to work in a different way. You have to do what other people don't do. This is the trick. We are doing now a work that most of the people don't do, and this can make the difference. Okay, we are ready. Now I click on the adjustment layer and now we can try to change. Look, we can start to play with colors. Look, okay. Before, after. Maybe you like this, maybe you don't like. So I invite you to try and then you can evaluate if the changes are good or not. In this case, I have removed the yellow tones here. Look. But you can choose what you prefer, okay? Okay, let's assume that this is quite good. We have created our last image and remember we started from this and we get this, okay? This is totally muted and now it's enriched with a gray tonal contrast that looks much better than before. Okay, perfect. All our work is done and I wait you on the conclusion video where we will talk quickly about all we did in this masterclass, looking at all we did during this long masterclass. But I hope you will find it interesting because we talked about a lot of interesting things and I hope these things will help you in creating your amazing images. So let's jump to the next video.